you doing? How's it going? The experience machine. Let's get right into it. The experience machine is a thought experiment introduced by philosopher Robert Nozick in his book Anarchy, State, and Utopia, 1974. Nozick used it to question hedonism, the idea that pleasure or happiness is the highest good in life. The experiment goes like this. You are offered the opportunity to plug into a machine that simulates life experiences. Once you are connected, the machine would make you experience a perfect, blissful life filled with whatever you consider the highest pleasures. While connected, you wouldn't know it's fake. It would feel as real as life does now. You could be a famous artist, a successful entrepreneur, or someone who is perpetually fulfilled and content. You can even program what experiences you'll have, so everything you encounter will align with your desires. The key question: would you choose to plug into the machine for the rest of your life? Or would you refuse and continue living in the real world, with its unpredictability, struggles, and imperfections? Deeper implications. Nozick argues that most people wouldn't want to plug in, even though the machine promises a life of endless pleasure. Here's one. Reality versus illusion. Many people feel that experiencing real life, even if imperfect, is more valuable than experiencing a fabricated version. This suggests that we seek authenticity, not just happiness. In the machine, personal growth and struggle are illusions. Many people find meaning in overcoming challenges, achieving goals, and learning from mistakes. The machine deprives them of this, suggesting that growth and effort might be as important as happiness. Relationships in the machine wouldn't be genuine, only simulations. This implies that authentic relationships with others add meaning to life beyond personal pleasure. A sense of achievement, accomplishments in the machine wouldn't be earned through effort. For many, this diminishes the value of achievement and leaves them longing for real accomplishments. Okay. So, there you have it. The machine. This thought experience is pretty straightforward. If you could be hooked up to a machine, a device of some kind, and for the rest of your life, it would simulate the absolute perfect life, the most imaginable life you could ever want. Okay? And you can tweak it to your liking beforehand. Would you choose to live that permanently in that way? Or would you choose the real world? You know what I mean? With all the real world brings. And this immediately makes me think of that movie with Bruce Willis that came out. When did that movie come out? I forget what it was called. The name of that movie was Surrogates, and it came out in 2009. Set in a futuristic world where humans live in isolation and interact through surrogate robots, a cop is forced to leave his home for the first time in years. So this is essentially the same thing. It's literally the same thing pretty much, except, you can disconnect somehow, you know what I mean? Apparently, It's not ideal. In fact, I think in that movie, spoiler alert, that there is some kind of electrical problem. That's how he ends up coming back into the real world. Also, there's some like murdering robot or something like that. Anyways, he's like perpetually young and good looking, and but there's still crime and stuff like that, because it's just people, but it's the idealized versions of themselves because they're robots, so it's basically like VR, I guess, but it's like real, right? And so, like, the world has been, anyways, never mind the movie. So, what I want to live in this universe where it's perfect. I'm trying to envision what that would look like for me personally. If I compare it to like where I'm at in life right now, I think what I want to go into a simulation, and have it all. You know what I mean? And I would have it set up so that it all seems authentic. You know what I mean? It seems real. It seems like I'm working towards these things, even though it's inevitable that I'm going to get that job, that I'm going to make this kind of money, that I'm going to, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? And since I've had it set up that way, it will feel as authentic as it would in the real world. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't know it was fake. And so I would have it set up in that sense. And then, what would I want to do? You know what I mean? Do I want to be a billionaire? No. In fact, actually, you know what? I have a whole lot of different ideas. When I was younger, I had this crazy dream. Like, it was like literally a fantastical dream. You know what I mean? Like, not even in the realm of possibility. It was just like a fantasy where I would be like this genius who would create like the next big like computer corporation. You know what I mean? Bigger than Microsoft, more innovative than Apple. You know what I mean? And it would like revolutionize the world, right? Like, this technology would create clean energy and like the fastest internet, and it would be wireless. You know what I mean? There would be a way to like consume energy into your devices without it being plugged into a grid per se, or not necessarily a grid, but your house has those power cords leading up to your house. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have that. You know what I mean? It would just be sent kind of like a satellite waves or something, right? I would have that. I'd have all of this like super futuristic technology, and I would be in all these different branches of fields of work. So I would be in like computers and cell phones and medical research. You know what I mean? We would be developing like the cures for cancer. You know what I mean? Like, this company is like, you know what I mean? It's super space age, right? We're very powerful, right? And we are simultaneously like redistributing like our wealth. So like we become like just this massive company. Like, we're making trillions, right? And it's being redistributed. You know what I mean? So there's like everybody on the who works for the company, like regardless of their position, has like health care and insurance, and they have certain perks for just working with us, right? Including housing. Like, how crazy is that? They would have housing, which is a little dystopian, but in this case it would be like a utopia, where it's like, oh, I work for this company and I want to go move to so and so, where everyone who works there lives. It would be mandatory. You could not live there if you didn't want to, but it's like you basically get a free home and electricity and so anyways, with this idea, it's like the company would be in all these different branches, right? It would be curing cancer. It would have all these answers for technology and energy and power, and creating solutions for like world hunger, all while continuing to advance mankind. So and being rich, you know what I mean? So in that crazy fantastical scenario, would I want to live that life? Because not only am I rich, I'm smart and wealthy and successful, but I'm also helping the world. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm creating this awesome stuff and making tons of money, and the people helping me make the money are getting paid what they deserve. And I'm helping the world. I'm solving problems. Our company's figuring out how to recycle water more efficiently, and recycle plastic and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like super fantastical things. Would I want that? You know what I mean? Versus what I have right now. That's hard to say. I can't outrightly say no. I really can't. Because there would be a certain level of fulfillment to that. I mean, think about everything I just named. All of that fantastical, crazy stuff. Why wouldn't you want that? You know what I mean? So it's hard to be like, and then I wouldn't know. So really, what is the downside? You know what I mean? If I don't know that I'm in a simulation, in this fantasy world, if I don't know that, then what would be the benefit of not doing it? You know what I mean? Because I don't have to worry about a lot of things. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about health. And maybe since I'm choosing this life, I can see now that I think about it, now we're getting to interesting places. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, what about family? Because they're going to be in there, right? They're going to be simulations of the family as I know them, but it's like, now I gotta make sure they don't die ever. And so that's where we run into the problems, because it's like, am I gonna make it so that it's natural? There's gonna be a natural life cycle that's like RNG, you know what I mean? Like random number generated in terms of when they're gonna pass and what they're gonna get. Or am I gonna be like, nope, you're just simply immortal. You know what I mean? You're not going nowhere ever, sorry. And that's tough, because I don't know in that aspect. Because it's like, if you didn't have to experience loss, why would you? Especially if you're happy, you know what I mean? So I would probably, I don't know. What would you do? Would you choose this? Would you choose to be in the machine? And I want you to, you can kind of compare it to social media and the internet as we use it now, and how invested we are, how much do you watch YouTube, and how invested do you get in YouTube, and how many favorite, how much do you consume, how immersed do you get, do you doom scroll, are you always on some type of social media, are you always on your phone? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people can say that regardless of what app they're using, right? But you're kind of all in most of the time anyways. At least for a lot of people. I can't speak for everybody. Some people have lives, so you know what I mean? Like they don't need to be on their phone all the time. But even still, like a lot of people, even rich and famous people are on their phones all the damn time. So but think about that, you know what I mean? Like, so you're already kind of immersed in that now, you know what I mean? But of course it's awful, you know what I mean? Like, the internet is terrible, right? I mean, we get all of the worst things are at the surface, you know what I mean? When it comes to social media, there's a couple good things, and then it gets boring, and then there's all the bad things that kind of get you balled up and get you doom scrolling. But then imagine if you didn't, or those lives that kind of make you envious, like, oh, they kind of had it all, they're attractive and thin and successful, and they got all these followers, and they get all these likes and all these comments, and all these people worship them, and you know, but what if that could be you? You know what I mean? You know, you decided that way, you know what I mean? It seems organic because that's what it would be in the simulation. But, you know what I mean? It's just something. So if you don't know about it, I would do it. I don't see the drawbacks, if I'm being honest. If I don't know that it's a simulation, you know what I mean? And especially if I don't ever have an opportunity to know this is a simulation either, you know what I mean? Because I can see the problem real quick if there could be a situation where suddenly I'm back, you know what I mean? I was listening to a story recently, I believe, and I think it was maybe a true story, I don't remember, but the guy, I'm pretty sure it was a true story, he was in a coma, and he had a whole life in this coma where he had a wife and kids, and he said he lived out the entire life of like 40 years. He lived it out. You know, there were names and people and vivid details. You know what I mean? This was a real life for him. You know what I mean? He had a whole life. He had a family. You know what I mean? And then he wakes up and he finds out that none of that was real. It was just all in his head. You know, he was in a coma. He has no wife. You know what I mean? People who he knew before are gone now. You know what I mean? And I think it was like he became like horribly depressed and is still struggling with it and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that had to suck. That had to suck. So, like, if you gotta wake up at some point and face things, I would probably not choose to go. You know what I mean? But if it's one of those situations where it's like the plan is to keep you in there forever, but something might happen out here and you might become disconnected, disillusioned, re-illusioned, I don't know, and you become like lucid of the real world, and you'd be like, oh wow, so, and then you're screwed, right? Because now you know that everything was fake and you're not the successful person, and that you were actually in there though for those years. So you've lost a lot of time out here, you know what I mean? You made a grave mistake because you've lost so much, and now you can't go back. Let's assume you can't go back in without the knowledge you have. So that would change everything. And what do you think of what I just said, though, more importantly? That's what I want to know. If you made it this far, we're at 25 minutes. I'm probably going to cut it off here. There's probably like 7 other think experiments / philosophies that I'm going to talk about in the future. The one that I was thinking of doing just before this was called the trolley problem. It's a trolley, and you know, so it's basically a train thing, and it's coming down the tracks, and it's about to crash into like a bunch of people up ahead, and you know, they'll die, right? So there's going to be like 20 casualties, right? you see this, you see that it's on this trajectory, and you're able to like go up and hit the switch that will make it turn into another rail path, right? But there's gonna be somebody on that. There's gonna be one person, and he is almost certainly, he will certainly be hit and be a casualty. And so the trolley problem asks, which one would be the better decision to make? This is one person versus 20, so obviously he's got to go. So it's just like the greater good. And would you say the 20 people are the one? You know what I mean? But since you kind of see it, you're responsible either way. So there's really no way out of this. Someone's going to die. You know what I mean? Your inaction will cause, mass casualty, but your action will cause one casualty. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, on one end, you are just a witness to something awful. You know what I mean? You had no role in the sequence of events that led up to that. You know what I mean? Whereas if you take action, you're directly involved with someone inevitably dying. So I don't know. It depends on how you look at it, because that inactivity could be seen as just as much of an activity. So our action, I thought to myself right away, I'm obviously going to save the 20 people as the greater good. You know what I mean? But then it's like, well, what if that one person was like somebody that I cared about, or even me? You know what I mean? What does it mean for me, that one person on the track, if they decided that my life is insignificant, even compared to 20 people? You know what I mean? Like, how is it insignificant? You know what I mean? Like, does one life just not matter? So, and now we're going to end this video because I'm going to get distracted.